Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back once again to another race week of action here. We're here in Azerbaijan, and for the Tier 2 race, of course, myself, Alex, or ARL, or even AJ, you can call me in the commentary box for another time round. And this time round being the penultimate Grand Prix of the season here in the streets of Baku. But we've got a sprint race weekend, ladies and gentlemen. So not long until we get going for what is essentially the first part of the race weekend, which is the sprint qualifying. Of course, one shot that comes quick and fast at you. So the drivers just making a few amendments to their setup, and then they'll be out onto the track for one burst of a lap. There's only one chance you get, and then you dive straight into the sprint race. And of course, the drivers will have another chance for another one-shot quali for the main feature race. But we'll now let the game decide who we ride on board with, and that seems to be Callum. So Callum will be our first man on the lap, who will be watching with Callum, the V-Carb for the season. Currently in P3, but the fluctuations of drivers you can see in this one-shot qualifying, so do keep an eye out on that. But he's entering now the first, or you could say the second of the DRS locations, but first on the lap it is into turn 3, a little bit hesitant from the front end, the rear then losing out on traction. Through turn 4 though, seems to have a little touch of the wall, but that shouldn't be too bad. Into turn 5, lining up, because that'll hook up for turn 6. Don't compromise your run there. Callum currently sitting in P4 now, coming up to turn 7. This is tricky. Watch out for track limits. You can definitely invalidate here. And now the infamous castle section, turn 8, 9, 10. Oh, and he's gone a bit deep. He's touched the wall there. And I don't know if he's gone away with any damage there, but it's certainly hindered his lap time. He's dropped a few positions, but can he get it back through this portion of the track? Through turn 13, through turn 14, through turn 15, now he goes. Watch out for the inner curve. That'll force you off track. Now he comes to what is essentially the final braking point of the lap. Isn't the final corner, technically speaking, but it certainly is the final braking point. And now it's a drag race all the way to the line. Through turn 18, through turn 19 coming up. And then turn 20. DRS soon being enabled for Callum. It is enabled for him. Where can you put that V-Carb for the sprint race? Ginger Tiger though takes pole. Callum in P6, so right in the midfield for the sprint race, as we'll wait to see the other drivers come across the lap. But that's going to be the third row for Team V-Carb in P6. So, quick overview of the classification from qualifying. Aston Martin of Ginger Tiger going strong once again. 7th gap to O'Stephen, but doesn't matter. O'Stephen, regardless of the delta, he's alongside him going into turn 1. DJ Madman then follows behind. Good result for Mercedes, followed by the Aston Martin of Nitro Gash. Then it's Clips, Kiri and Callum, followed by the two McLaren boys on row 4. Then it's Maras in P9 with Sir Spud. And finally, Mikey not setting a representable lap time, it must be said. Similar with Sir Spud even. So I wonder maybe a little bit of a going off there on that one-shot qualifying. Of course, drivers unable to set multiple laps, so any practice that needed to be done has to be done prior to the race session. But as we enter now into the lobby of the sprint race, weather looking nice and dry. A little bit hazy or foggy, it must be said. But in terms of the cloud coverage, not a single cloud in sight, must be said. But quickly before we get going for the sprint race, a quick overview of the driver standings. At the end, of course, of the Qatar Grand Prix, the standings are as follows. Nitrogash in the lead, but the gap between himself and Ginger Tiger has been reduced down to 10 points. 87 for Nitro, Ginger on 77. So this is really shaping up to be quite an end to the season here in Tier 2 of Invictus Racing League. But DJ Madman then follows behind in P3 on 56 points. And he's got Clips Kiri keeping him company on 49. Then Steven in the other Mercedes is in P5. He's sitting on 38, whereas It's the Cat just 1 point behind. Same for Bruce, of course, as well. Both tied on 37 points. Then following Bruce is the War Islander. Of course, he's dropped a few places from his strong start. He's in Tier 1. If you're only joining us now, since round 1, of course, he's moved over to Tier 1, but he will keep his points on the tally, but he won't move up the field. Then behind, though, is Jordan, or JPH, in the other McLaren on 32. Then just Spud rounds out the top 10 for Red Bull on 29. Then Callum in P11 for Racing Bulls, 26 points, followed by Ronan for the Alpine, and then Kent in 13th on 12 points, and then the two Ferraris of Lionel Griesby and Mikey for P14 and 15, and then Maris and Ivan, the last of the runners, unfortunately on 0 points. In terms of the constructor standings, Aston Martin are really running away with this here, and in fact are to be the constructors champions at this rate, or maybe even after this sprint race, of course. But 164 points for Team Aston Martin, that surely is done and dusted for them. Mercedes then follow behind, 94, with Red Bull in P3 on 78. Then it's Team McLaren of Bruce and Jordan on 69, with Alpine on 50 for P5. Then the V-Carbs of Callum and Kent on 26 for P6. And then the Ferraris, the last of the scorers for the points, in P7 on 19 points. And then, of course, Sauber, Haas and Williams all not scoring any. So could be a chance potentially for the likes of Maris. Of course, Maris is a reserve, but could potentially bring some points for Team Haas. Would be nice to see that. And at the moment, of course, the top 12 scoring points, not in the sprint race, however, that changes down to the top 6. But if this was to stand in the race, of course, as long as he finished, he will get some points. But quick look at the tyre strategy, of course, and this is quite intriguing. The front 5 runners here as... Oh! Is that nitric ash in the background? I think it was not. Nitric ash went off in turn 3. And DJ Madman, in fact, has as well picked up a disqualification. So we're unable to have a look at what happened there. But in the background, we saw nitric ash go off. So that's not going to help potentially with the stewards, and certainly with the tyre warm-up. I was going to say the top 5 starting on the hard tyre, and then following that, Callum, Bruce, JPH on the medium, and then Maris, the hard runner, in the midfield to the back of the pack, whereas Spud and Mikey back on the medium set. But that is a very unusual occurrence there, but that is really going to play into the hands of this man, Ginger Tiger, who's been on some brilliant form over these last few races to really close that championship fight back up. And it's only getting better before it's even started, this race. So we'll have a look if we can get potentially a word from Nitro or Madman to whatever happened there. But certainly an odd one. But possible race strategies as far as it goes for the sprint race. The one stopper going from a medium, or the flat out strategy going on the hards with no pit stops. Of course, this being a sprint race, not entitled to make a pit stop, and usually you won't really find yourself doing that. However, safety cars and VSC might make it more of an option as Ginger Tiger goes through DJ Madman, the last of the runners we're just waiting for is Mikey. We'll look into the chat box. Good evening to Sir Spud, hope all as well. Spud saying yes, I went straight on at turn 3, so that's probably what's happened here. But the lights count down here in Azerbaijan for the sprint race, the last of the sprint race this season, and it's lights out and it's go in Azerbaijan. Who's got the better of the starts? It looks to be O'Stephen. O'Stephen challenging down the inside. O'Stephen takes the lead into turn 1. O'Stephen now leads from Ginger Tiger. DJ Madman behind, and there's a bit of contact from the Aston Martin. That looks to be Nitro Gash going into the back of the other Mercedes, but Klipskiri now he moves up into P4. That's a dream start for O'Stephen and certainly DJ Madman, but now DJ Madman's going to potentially be overtaken. No, he's trying to overtake from Ginger Tigers. Oh, there's a Ferrari in the background. I believe that's Sir Spud. Or, sorry, not Sir Spud, that's Mikey. Mikey in the background of turn 3, going off there. Few positions flickering around, but I think that is realistically now in a line for the drivers. But that is a dream start for Team Mercedes, certainly in their fight with Red Bull. So they are on the upper hand in terms of the points, but they're really trying to make sure they secure this P2. But they've got charging Red Bull, Klipskiri, right on the tail of DJ Madman on this opening lap. You can see how Madman really sticky with DJ Madman here. But it's so far, luckily, clean to go as all. And Bruce goes quite deep. But what about Nitro Gash? Has he got damage? Yes, he does. Front right winglet completely gone on that Aston Martin. So, on those hard tyres, and for the entirety of this sprint race, it would seem, he's going to have to live with that downforce deficit. So how much is that going to cost him on pace? We'll see as this race unravels. The fastest lap goes to Stephen, the first man to cross the line, of course. That's no surprise, but do expect the time to count down as we get into this sprint. The DRS, of course, now enabled. One of the longest straights, of course, on the calendar, and an amazing overtaking opportunity down into turn 1, but maybe you might want to have a look down into turn 3 potentially. Was DJ Madman on the Aston Martin of Ginger Tiger. But he's also got to be careful. He's got Klipskiri right behind him. So how much can this DRS train become effectively? The top 4 currently sitting well within that 1 second. Nitro Gash, though, he's just on the cusp of entering that 1 second gap, hinting down towards the 8/10, 9/10 detection point. Callum as well, he's closing up, and he's also bringing the pair of the McLaren duo in this fight. But lap 2 of 9, of course, not many laps. If you want to make the overtakes, not many laps to do it in this sprint. But as it seems, O'Stephen starting to pull away a bit more, but Madman not letting Ginger Tiger off the hook at this stage in time. Drivers go all over the curve off turn 15, using as much of the track as they can, but be careful on this curve, the outside curve of turn 16. If you get it wrong, put the floor over the curve, to completely set the rear unstable, and it will carry out through turn 17, 18, 19, and of course the drag all the way to turn 1. But is an overtake already going to be made? It has. Bruce, even just before the detection point, gets through ahead of Callum, but what about up front? Who's got it? Does Callum have a look back on Bruce? He's just a bit too far back. He did not get the DRS detection point from the drivers ahead, so he's going to have to try and make it back here into turn 3 as his next available opportunity. But what about in front? Who's going forward? As there's a yellow flag currently in sector 1. I think that's going to be Maris, the Haas driver. Oh, on board with DJ Matt, and he clips the inside tyre, the inside of turn 3. Whether he's picked up any damage, it seems. I think it was more tyre to wall. But he does have an end plate on the Mercedes, so should be good, as Callum in the background has a little bit of a loose melt. He's got the 2 McLarens. But at the moment, O'Stephen in the lead, still secure of Ginger Tiger. He does have that DRS over him, but he starts to pull ahead right before the final few corners of the detection point. Right over the curb as what was that? DJ Madman. DJ Madman's gone very deep into turn 15. Is that going to cost him? It certainly will. To Klipskiri. He still stays ahead and he struggles on traction out of the last braking point. And DJ Madman now is going to have to be careful as Callum gets re-overtaken by Bruce again before the DRS detection point. The two McLarens looking to have some great speed as Callum's gone into the wall. Callum into the wall at turn 19. And he's completely out of this sprint race. Significant tyre damage. And I'm stunned how, and that's now looking, that's Klipskiri going into the back and Clips picking up front wing damage, it seems. But I'm amazed how that went wrong for Callum there. Completely shunting the car. And that is game over for him. Bruce gets by on his teammate, it seems, for P6. So the two McLarens having a little bit of a squabble there in the background for the last of the positions of the point. But now Klipskiri, he picks up damage, and it looks to be that Nitric actually just picked up a bit more there. That front wing looking a little bit worse than it did a few laps ago, so I wonder if he's had another excursion or we didn't see that angle of damage before, but it certainly does not look good on the other McLaren. This is really going to help Ginger Tiger. He's not in the lead, he has lost the lead from O'Stephen. However, he's sitting in a much better position than his teammate is, and I'm sure he's going to be liking this scenario. But lap 4 of 9, once again the top 5 all within that 1 second gap, and all within the crucial DRS down the straight. So the car just here touching the barrier. I'm not sure who that was. I think that was DJ Madman going through, but certainly one of the drivers clipping the wall, as I think Maris has had another excursion off at the castle section, and it is Maris not having the easiest of times. You can see the rear just getting a little bit loose from there. The back at the front, so Stephen from Ginger Tiger using all of his battery deployment, but not enough for him. But Bruce and JPH switch around once more. Seems to be that these two are having a little bit of a squabble, but of course having a little bit of good racing action. They're sitting in P7 and 6. And there's Bruce is having a power slide through turn 2. It's not going to help his traction, but it certainly did look pretty cool, Bruce, so don't worry, we got that on camera. But now the two McLaren pair sitting in a pretty much no man's land here. 5 seconds to the nearest barrel of nitro gas up ahead, and 4.5 behind. So these two can afford to have a little bit of fun, but as it stands. In the meantime, Ginger Tiger is starting to feel a bit more pressure from behind. DJ Madman now, the other Mercedes driver, really closing up onto the Aston Martin. Ginger Tiger is somewhat in a Mercedes sandwich, it must be said here. So Mercedes can afford to play a few games around here, but of course it will make life a little bit tougher for DJ Madman to try and make a move, because of course Ginger Tiger, he picks the DRS from Madman's teammate up ahead, but that is if Ginger Tiger is within the 1 second, and on this occasion looks to be so, but you can see the batteries recharging on these cars. Of course, these cars not the 50-50 split that we're currently seeing in F1, now is 70-30. So recharge will be having a look on the inside, but look at this, Klipskiri getting a little bit aggressive. He came out of nowhere there. Klipskiri having a look on the outside of turn 1. You don't normally see a move there unless you've got significant traction to your rival, but has a little sniff down into turn 1. Nice to see some action there. But what about DJ Madman now? Was hunted, becoming the hunter into turn 3. Oh, so close, he had to abandon it. But what about Klipskiri? He would have potentially taken advantage of that traction. No, he didn't on this occasion. But it's all going off here for P2. And this is just helping O'Stephen secure this sprint win. as the laps tick down in this Azerbaijan sprint race. The last, of course, of the season. Only 2 across the 8 races, and we've had our first one in Spa. And of course, we're lucky enough to get a second one here in the streets of Azerbaijan. I think it is an incredible track to potentially have a sprint race. As Ginger Tiger did go a little bit into turn, or on the exit of turn 12, it must be said. Oh, a little bit of banging, a little bit of banging. Big bang does flip Scary into the back of DJ Madman. Surely that's even more wing damage than it is. As that happened though, we missed Maras. Crashed out of turn 4. We didn't get to see it. We were on board with the Red Bulls. Oh, another driver's whacked the wall there. They're really taking these end plates and these front wings to the maximum of their capability and even over the line. But it really is getting pushed out there as, oh, the Mercedes of TJ Madman having to take evasive action there. I think he wasn't expecting Ginger Tiger to break as early or move back onto the line. And I think Ginger Tiger lets through DJ Madman for that late manoeuvre. So Ginger Tiger now dropped to P3, but look at this, Clip Scary now on the back of the Aston Martin. I think it'll be a bit too far back to make a move as well with the damage. Not gone well though. All Team Aston Martin's on. Perhaps hit the inside of turn 3. That thing is barely holding together. Now Nitro Gash on the back of this little fight, as I think Mikey now has gone off at the final corner. Sorry, at turn 2 he has. Oh. keep it going forward, Mikey. That nearly went the wrong way around, but Mikey having a little excursion. But with that overtake from DJ Madman puts Mercedes P1 and 2 on lap 7 and 9 here. So Mercedes have got a tremendous chance of scoring maximum points in the sprint race. Of course, fastest lap, however, in the sprint does not get given in terms of the extra point, but certainly scoring all they can to try and keep themselves ahead of the Red Bulls. Of course, only one Red Bull, of course 2 Red Bulls here right now, but only one of them in the top 6, so one of them scoring points on this occasion. So Spud, actually, as I say that, he tries to do one better and say, well, try and get through and head. In fact, actually, is that Bruce having an issue? It is! What's happened to Bruce? So that was not an overtake, that was Bruce having an off scene. There is no visible wing damage to the McLaren driver, but something clearly going wrong. Whether he's gone deep, I'm not too sure, into turn 16, but it's definitely not helped. But back at the front of the field, the 2 Mercedes drivers getting a little bit closer here. DJ Madman really getting on the gearbox of his teammate, pushing him along on this lap. So we could even see a change for the lead between the 2 Mercedes. What are the team orders? I'm sure they're free to fight as long as they keep it clean. They don't want to be risking any points going away. They do have the luxury of being ahead, but they are relatively nearby to the Red Bulls, as DJ Madman didn't get a good exit there at the turn 12 or even turn 10 and 11. That's put Ginger Tiger now closer to the Mercedes, but Madman will still be within that DRS range, you must imagine. And I think he will just be within. They make their way into the curving of 16, and DJ Madman will well be within the DRS range. So could we see an overtake for the lead? So Stephen making that brilliant start off the line into turn 1, taking the lead, and he hasn't been challenged ever since. But can he be challenged this time around? We're now on the final lap into turn 1. DJ Madman just a little bit too far back, but it's not over yet. You've got another opportunity coming at you at the exit of turn 2 all the way to turn 3. DRS wide open for DJ Madman now. Does he have the traction? Does he have the lunge? Trying to close up. Once again, it doesn't seem to be. He's closing, but it's not enough. What about behind? Flipskery, he got a bit close. to Ginger Tiger, but it's not enough for him either. And again, look at the Mercedes of Madman really pushing the Steven along in this part of the track. Does seem to be there for Madman having a bit more downforce potentially than Steven. We've explained how Steven's been able to stay in the lead of this race so far without the use of DRS. That's Clipscary. Oh, Clipscary's gone into the back of Ginger Tiger. It's caused a pile up. Clipscary and Ginger Tiger. It's chaos down that turn 7. Oh, it's really caused a pile up. Nitro Gash gets a 10-second penalty. That's unfortunate. He's done nothing wrong there. Stuck in a train is Nitro Gash, but Clipscary going into the back of Ginger Tiger on this final sprint lap. And this is going to be potentially heavy look scenarios now. Clipscary and Nitro Gash go side by side. Even there, Nitro Gash doesn't have a front wing. Incredibles. Oh, JPH now goes into the back of the Aston Martin. There's debris flying all across. It's chaos here, but at the front of the field, for the fight of the lead as well, we could have Madman taking the win. It's relatively close. DJ Madman's closing. He's so close. But no, Steven shuts the door. Incredible stuff there on this final lap. Nitro Gash is out. Oh my word, it's all kicking off. I think Nitro Gash has just done a Control-C, Control-V to what Callum's done. But Ginger Tiger crosses the line in 3rd. Clipscary 4th. JPH 5th. Sir Spud is going to take a point. Sir Spud P6 for the Red Bull. I said the second Red Bull wouldn't score a point at the moment. Bruce limps home. But utter chaos on that final lap, ladies and gentlemen. But all I have to say is there's going to be some serious Stewart inquiries at the end of this. Of course, we still have a one-shot qualifying for the feature race and then the feature race itself. But definitely Stewart's inquiry going to be coming up from that sprint race. But utter mayhem in the midfield. But Steven, through all that, keeps the lead of the sprint, of course, from his teammate DJ Madman. Look at the gap there. Did shut the door. Not really the racing, not really any team orders down at Mercedes, but some good scrapping away. Ginger Tiger gets P3, Clipscary gets P4, JPH P5, and Sir Spud, well done for staying in it. P6, you've scored a point from that. Bruce P7, and unfortunately Nitro Gash P8, Mikey P9, Maris and Callum all not finishing that race. But Nitro Gash having a torrid time there, just went from bad to worse for him. Realistically, no fault of his own. But there will definitely be some Stewart's inquiries, I imagine, coming down from Aston Martin. And even the Stewarts will feel free to have a look at any incident they wish. But utter chaos. So we'll have a breather, ladies and gentlemen, after that incredible end. But now the drivers enter the one-shot qualifying for the feature race, of course. So drivers will get an opportunity to tamper with the setup, so they can completely make a full change if there was a lot they didn't like with the setup, or could make minor changes. It's completely up to them. They have full flexibility to do whatever they like. But of course, once we enter into the one-shot quali, Parc Fermé reapplies, and the setup will be very limited going into the feature race. Just having a little look into the chat box. Spud saying, we'll take that. Definitely will, mate. That was certainly a pretty good recovery. Stayed clean and quiet through that, but managed to recover some of a point. But Azerbaijan, of course, being the penultimate round of the season. Next week, of course, we do travel over to Silverstone, what is the birthplace of Formula One. And of course, that'll be the regular format for the final round of the season, Tier 1 and Tier 2, of course. But this is real opportunities here to try and maximise your chance in the constructors and, of course, the drivers' standings. But after that sprint race, that will certainly have helped Ginger Tiger. And I only imagine Ginger Tiger picking up a good few points, 4 points should be to him. He'll close that gap down from what would be 10 down to 6. So championship lead could even swing at the end of this feature race. Even so, but of course we are waiting for the drivers just to make their final amendments to the setup. But let us know your predictions, of course, in the chat. Your quali predictions, your race predictions, and your top 3. But for myself, I'm going to go with a VSC and a safety car. I believe we'll get one of both. I'd be very surprised if we didn't get either. I'm quite surprised we didn't even get a VSC in that sprint race, despite 2 drivers having an off, both at the same point as well at the exit of turn 19. Clearly the front wing damaged, too tricky to take that corner flat out and catching drivers out. But we're ready now to go for the last one-shot quali of the season, the last sprint weekend one-shot. Already been with Callum. Oh, what has Callum done here? We'll ignore that, and we'll go on board. We'll go on board with DJ Madman. He was the next driver selected, so we'll go on board with DJ Madman of the Mercedes. So turn number 3 coming up. DRS shuts for Mercedes. Through turn 3, nice and smooth. 10-4, taking it pretty nicely there. Gives himself good distance to the wall. Turn 5, stay as far left as you can. Hug that apex. That'll help you for turn 6 now. Short one, turn 7. Watch this curve. Try and cut as much as you can without risking track limits. But now the infamous, the tricky castle section does that nice and clean now. Right, almost the full wall extent of turn 11. Now turn 12. Nice exit for him. Turn 13, 14. Absolutely flat out with these cars. Into turn 15. Rides that curve. Knocks the ball out even. But he'll get away with that one. Into the last of the braking points of the lap. That's nice and clean for him. But now through the final few swings to the left, swings to the right. Deploy the battery as much as you can, but be careful. Make sure it goes to the line. DRS enabled for Madman. He's used the deploy already. Can he sustain the P4? He can remain in P4. He should be ahead of his teammate, it seemingly is, of O'Stevens. So Madman settles for P4. But definitely showed some really strong sprint race pace. So don't be surprised to see the 2 Mercedes potentially be fighting for the win. But regardless, Ginger Tiger takes pole position from Klipskiri. Klipskiri really close within that 110. He's alongside him. Nitro Gash P3, better qualifying for him. DJ Madman in 4th with O'Steven in 5th. Bruce and JPH P6 and P7. Sir Spud and Mikey are the last of the lap time set, and then Callum and Maris unfortunately not setting any lap time. But does seem to be once again the 2 McLaren boys always together, whether that's in the race or in the qualifying. They do like to to have a strong pairing together. So it's a little detail, but one that we noticed. So whether that was on purpose from the McLaren boys, you've done well. But no, pace very similar between the two of them. Just having a little look into the chat. Sir Spud, Ginger, O Steven, Nitro, Gash for his top 3. And he says 2 safety cars, 1 VSC. So going with an extra safety car could be quite interesting for that. Certainly every opportunity to have that. But it'll definitely throw the race into, let's say, the 4th dimension for sure, if we are to get that many incidents. But I'm going to go, so I've gone with the 1 safety car and 1 VSC. For my top 3, I'm going to say Clips Kiri. I'm going to say Clips Kiri, Ginger, and Nitro Gash. I think those three. I think those 3 will. I think the 2 Aston Martin pairs will have the strong running together. They will keep it. They do obviously have a drivers' championship to fight for, but I do think they will keep each other in the mix for the points. Of course, each of them having a chance to try and hope that a driver gets in between them, but I do think they will still both be very closely matched. They have been all season long. I think maybe Nitro Gash could disagree for Qatar. Didn't go his way, but at the end though did have some good pace in the race and definitely caught up to the back of Ginger Tiger. So it could be any way round, but I do believe the 2 Aston Martins have shown it all season long will be in that top 3, with a Red Bull of Clips Kiri in between, in no specific order, but I do believe they'll be charging ball. As we await for the final confirmation, of course, for the drivers, this is the crucial part. The drivers picking the tyre strategies, I should say, and choosing whether to start on the hards, the mediums, or even if you're brave enough to try the soft. However, I highly doubt that with the high tyre wear around here. Lots of 90-degree corners, especially in the first sector alone. But we'll see what the drivers do for their strategy there. We won't have access to the fuel loads, unfortunately, but they'll all be tampering with that. And that's up to them as the drivers now. We'll begin the penultimate formation lap, I should say, of the season. But as per the tyre strategies, very split, it must be said. 5 drivers on the mediums, 6 on the hards, the medium drivers, Nitrogash, Madman, Bruce, JPH and Mikey. The remainers are the hard drivers, Ginger Tiger, Clips Kiri, Steven, Sir Spud, Callum and Maris. I'll be quite intrigued to see where Callum can put this V Cup out, in fact. I don't know what happened there down the straight, starting that one-shot block. Whether he was not ready, not at this simulator, and the wheel just wasn't there, or that was intentional, I'm not sure, but it definitely didn't set a representable that time. He does have some decent pace from the sprint, so hopefully we can see him charge his way out the field, maybe even get in the mix of the top 5 fight. But the top 5, of course, again, remain as it did in the sprint race, however, they order a little bit more mumbled up. But this will be crucial for the likes of Ginger Tiger and Nitro Gash. Still in this hunt, both of them for the drivers standing. It'll be very intriguing as Ginger Tiger waxing. In fact, actually carries it along with him, Wish we could get a different camera than what we're doing now. You just hear the bollocks scraping along the floor of the Aston Martin. Hopefully he doesn't carry that along. In fact, he does carry that along on the right hand side. You can see it on the right hand side. You can't see it on this angle, but he was carrying it through turn 19 on the right hand side of the floor. Is it still with him? Unfortunately, going a little bit too fast for us to catch up, but he was certainly for a while. The drivers take their positions for what will be round 7 of 8. As Bruce gets his parking a little bit wrong as we wait for the final drivers to make their parking box. Well, here we go. The lights tick down. The race is underway once again, but this time the feature race. And have a look at this. Klipskiri gets a better launch. In fact, look at Nitro Gash. Nitro Gash getting that amazing launch on the mediums from third to the lead in turn 1. What a move from Nitro Gash. Nitro Gash really pushing this to the limit and pulling his elbows out. But that's an amazing dream start for Nitro Gash. But a terrible one if you're Ginger Tiger. Ginger Tiger again losing out on the opening lap into turn 1. But this time didn't just lose one position, he lost 2. And one of them being from his teammate. But that was an amazing overtake. It's now the McLaren of JPH and Callum go wheel to wheel between the two of them. They're still wheel to wheel going into turn 5. Who remains ahead? Looks to be Callum, but Callum, has he got it sorted? He does have it. So Callum stays ahead of one of the McLarens. He'll be into P7, but what a dream getaway if you are Nitro Gash. What a launch. But that medium tyre is certainly giving you the better grip off the line. You'll have more temperature likely from that one formation lap as well. And look at the gap, 1 second. So Nitro Gash is really pushing on these mediums to try and get ahead of the DRS detection point. So he had no threat at this stage in time from the likes of Klipskiri. But it looks to be 1.3, 1.4. So Nitro Gash really getting on with it on this opening lap. But if you're Ginger Tiger, you're going to be a little bit unhappy. Again, the launch from Ginger was not enough, even on the same tyre set as Klipskiri, losing out into turn 1. So it's not going to be too happy with that. Is that an overtake in the background for P5 with the McLaren and the Mercedes of Stephen and Bruce? Doesn't seem to be at all. Ferrari looks to have gone a bit wide. I think this is between Sir Spud and Mikey. But O'Stephen at the moment on board seems to be safe from the McLaren on this occasion. Crucially though, the likes of Nitro Gash all the way up to DJ Manning, all within a second. As I say that, Klipskiri just drops out of that second, but it's so close through this portion. The dead air slightly putting you a bit offline. That's why you might see the deltas increase in the technical portions of the track. Certainly though, through this area, the castle section, right on board DJ Manning. Pretty nice and clean there. Gives himself not the most of space, but certainly just enough to be safe whilst pushing as much as he can on the medium set. But DJ Manning on the medium tyre here, he needs to try it if he wants to make this medium work. Get as close as he can to the likes of Ginger Tiger, even pressure Ginger Tiger into a mistake or even just make an overtake. However, Ginger Tiger will have DRS from Klipskiri ahead, so that job might be a bit tricky for Madman. And further behind it looks to be between JPH and Callum for P7. JPH gets the better drive, just a bit gets the place from Callum. Callum really slipping on the gearbox on that McLaren. Having a look, but now the rules will be reversed. Callum will get that dose of DRS. Doesn't go too deep into turn 1. Bad exit as well. Now Callum gets the DRS. The race, I think, between Nitro Gas and Clips Geary. There was debris definitely spotted from the driver into the wall of turn 1. I wonder who that is. It doesn't seem to be the front 3. Is it TJ Madman? It is. Front right end plate gone for Madman. So that Mercedes, he is on the medium tyre luckily, so he won't have to go as long with that broken wing if he was on the car. However, it's not going to make life very easy. As you can see the front hesitating to turn in. You can see the gap extending between himself, engine and tyre, and that's pulling O'Steve right on the back of Madman. Just only lap 3 of this race. Mikey and Maris. Mikey's had a moment. Mikey having a moment out of turn 12 it seems, and has damage on the right hand side of that front wing, so that's not going to be good for the Ferrari. And again, some substantial damage, so that's going to be a bit of a pain. But look at this for the lead of the race. Clips Geary, he's going to swing by one of the Aston Martins, but could a second Aston Martin get through on Nitro Gas? It's so close between the two of them. How do they race this one out? Nitro Gas does get overtaken from Ginger Tiger. So this was very interesting to the two Aston Martins. How will they play this out? Are the gloves off between the two of them? They certainly don't need to worry about the constructors. That's wrapped up for them. But the drivers' standings very, very close, and just got even closer from that sprint race. Mikey now into the pit. That'll be probably to fix that front wing damage and put a set of hards. Bruce is making an overtake on DJ Madman. We see Madman struggle with the front wing. Will he lose out to another position here? He will do. He won't from JPH at this moment, but he does to Bruce. So the two McLarens just keeping that Mercedes both ahead and in their wing mirrors. So that Mercedes is going to see an awful amount of papaya in this next portion of the lap. That's bringing Callum as well into the back of this little fight here for what is P5, realistically speaking. So P5, some decent points currently going away from Bruce. Yellow flag, Michael going off as always. There was a whack there. Who was that? The end plate as well coming off. Was that the front runners? That didn't seem to be. Trying to have a look on the ball. Oh, with Madman. Madman definitely gave a whack to the barrier here, and JPH, he's going to try and take advantage of it. He's nearly side by side, or alongside, I should say. Nitro Gas into the pit after 3 laps. But look at this. 3 wide, potentially into turn 1. 2 McLarens and the Mercedes. Who's going to come out the best of this little scrap? It looks to be Bruce just ahead of DJ Madman. But what about JPH? Can he get through? He can't. But that was really close between the 2 McLarens and Mercedes. That's now brought Callum into this little scrap here. DRS again, enable. Can the Madman make the move on Bruce? He's too far back. Can Callum make the move on JPH? He's certainly looking for it into turn 3. A little bit of wheel banging, but nothing too much. And he does fight his way into 6th place, does Callum. So pretty good stint so far. If you are Callum, from P10 to P6 in these 5 laps, on the hard tyre as well. Very strong runnings for Callum. But one thing whilst that was going on, Nitro Gas into pit assist, but they can move on JPH through the castle second. Okay, well, game on. It's all Maris into the wall there. Interesting strategy. But that's a very interesting strategy from Maris there. But Nitro Gas, he's made his way through. But 3 laps, or would be 4 laps on the medium tyre. That is a very unusual thing. Unless it's fixed wing damage, which we didn't see on camera, that could explain why. He's certainly looking to the 2-stop race here. It looks to be Madman Madman and Bruce into the pits. Madman and Bruce into the pit lane after 5 laps on the mediums. Is this a hit? A two-stopper is the only way to go here as Madman takes a new front wing. I wonder if Bruce is doing the same. No, Bruce genuinely coming in for strategy. Whereas Madman looks to be more to repair damage, it seems. But he's come out a few good seconds behind the McLaren of Bruce with that fix. What about front fight between Sir Spud and JPH? It's been actually pretty quiet. I know drivers have made a few pit stops. Sir Spud's slightly been in there. P5 at the moment. 3 drivers have pitted, so it was P8 for them. So Spud looking to score some decent points for the Red Bull. But at the moment, certainly Red Bull taking the advantage on points for the constructors. So they're going to really try and close that gap down to the Mercedes. Just trying a little bit wide, but that's more of the effects of the dirty air, of course. Following a car behind so closely kills the front tyres, overheats them. It starts to go up more offline, more sliding, more heat, and you're stuck in this awful cycle. As is JPH. This is genuine pit stop coming his way. He's coming in. Does Jordan into the pits, navigates that pit entry carefully into the pit. The Papaya team puts a fresh set of hard tyres, and away goes Jordan. Good stop from the McLaren team. It'll be interesting to see where he gets fed out. He definitely gets fed out behind Bruce. Does he get fed out in front of Madman? It's certainly going to be close, but I think Madman will win out on this occasion. Yes, he will. Just though. JPH will pick up the DRS, however, JPH is going to have to deal with this warm-up stage that Madman has already just been through on this time round. But at the moment, the closest fight is between JPH, as I said, JPH and Madman. But lap 7 of 26. At this moment in time, no penalties. As definitely heard the car clatter into the back. That's Maris. Oh, Maris again clatters into the wall. That allows Bruce to go through. Bruce has damage himself. I think that's now Mikey gone off. At turn 3 he is having to take to the escape road. And oh dear, more damage on the front wing for Mikey. So on the hard tyres as well, that's going to be a tough ask to bring that all the way to this stint. But still in the points is Mikey, so can still bring home some points, especially if an incident happens later on. Can certainly maybe move up the place a few more. But closest fight at the moment, the only fight within DRS range, DJ Madman on Maris. And in fact, as I said that, Maris dives into the pits, but DJ Madman does pick a helping hand of DRS, so I'm sure Madman won't be too upset about that. Life gets ever so easier. Picks up one part, picks up DRS, and doesn't even have to make any effort doing so. Madman up into P8. All the drivers currently on the hard tyre. But intriguing strategy here is the mediums. No driver went more than 6 laps on the medium compound, so clearly heavy tyre wear around the streets of Baku, which we do know. But the drivers were able to push it to 9 laps in a sprint, so of course the cars will be more fueled up. They'll carry that load more, and that will of course affect the way the tyres respond. So I'm not saying they should equal that 9 laps in this feature race. However, I would have imagined them to go a little bit more than 6 laps for at least maybe 1 or 2 of the drivers that did start on that medium compound. As so close for the front to the wall there. Oh, Mikey has gone in the barrier, as it seemed, and we have a full course yellow. That's a VSC. VSC deployed. Who takes advantage of it? Callum does. On the harder tyre, if this is a 2-stop race, then this doesn't really hurt. It might not be as long as what we'd imagine it to be for the first bit, but he goes into mediums. Now that's certainly shown he's committing to a 2-stop race, but since it is a 2-stop race the way it's going, that's not a bad call from Callum to dive into the pits. He gets fed out just behind DJ Manman, but he's got mediums, so he should have better pace in this stage of the race. That will Callum. But VSC being caused, I believe it would have been Mikey the only one having enough, but still in the race. I'm surprised that's caused a VSC. He does lose the entirety of that front wing, but I'm surprised an incident like that causes the VSC. However, the other incidents in the sprint race have not. Oh, Mikey, that was close. Somehow that front left tyre is remaining on the Ferrari. I'll tell you what, they've definitely done well to build that car. But we're back to green flag running. As Callum and JPH, in fact, having an incredible little scrappy wheel bang their way. Callum, though, makes his way through it. I think he was caught napping by JPH on that restart. Jordan trying to get his way through, but Callum absolutely not having any of it. He makes sure he keeps onto that P8, and it would definitely explain so, because they're 3.8 seconds adrift from DJ Madman. So certainly Callum a bit asleep. There's JPH gone into the barrier on the exit of turn 15. You can see the end plate flying around. There's end plates flying around in this race at the moment, and we're only on that 10 up 26. But up front though, for what was P4, Sir Spud, and then Nitrogash. Nitrogash gets ahead of Sir Spud on the fresher tyre, and that is not really a surprise. Sir Spud's gone into the wall. Spud into the wall at turn 2. And how much damage has he got? He's lost the end plate. I think that's relatively generous, to be honest. I think that's generous, honestly speaking, to only have that end plate gone with the whack it looked to be. But luckily, I think he's coming more to the end of this stint, so you can change that in not too long time. But yeah, that's certainly not going to help. But just currently watching a little bit of a scrap for P4, 5 and 6. Madman though, he's pulled a 1.5 second gap to Bruce, so I think you've got that one covered at the moment. But more behind him is Bruce and Ginger Tiger. There's Ginger Tiger getting very close to the wall around the cancel section of the other McLaren, consult with JPH. But the other McLaren, Bruce, having that wing damage as well. So there's end plates missing left, right and centre, ladies and gentlemen. Whenever you look at end plates, and oh my gosh, that is not the fastest way around the streets of Baku. The Aero team is going to be having a tough time, certainly trying to keep the pace up on these cars without the end plates. Bruce has the worst launch. Of course, he's had to slow down because of that damage through that section. Caught Ginger Tiger a bit by surprise there, must be said. But who has the DRS? Neither of them. That's interesting, lads. Bit of no after you, but they've not decided that who runs the DRS, but certainly Bruce will run the DRS. This occasion does opens. Less drag, less downforce, of course. But have a look at this. Callum, he's having a little look on the likes of Bruce, and he does get his way through into P6 does Callum. Makes the overtake on the McLaren. And now in the middle of this trio of cars, his next victim is Ginger Tiger, right in front of him. Is on as well relatively similar tyre age. Tyre strat must be said to Ginger Tiger. Ginger and Callum are 2 laps old, medium compound. Drift outside turn 12, really losing grip. But up front though, for P3, we saw Spud struggling to slow down that car. 10 laps all on their hard tyre. He's done a pretty good job so far. Not many drivers have gone long with any of their tyres. 10 laps certainly the longest so far in this race. That seems to be the move is going to come looking past. PJ Manman as Spud now pulls into the pits. He makes his way into P3 as the yellow flag. Mikey's gone off at turn 2. Into the escape road, it seems. We see it now, riding on board with Ginger Tiger. Hopefully he remains until it's safe to go, and this is going to be a problem. Mikey unable to find a way through. I think he's got a bit of a gap now, and he does there pull out. Does have a gap from the likes of the what would be the Red Bull of Sir Spud coming out of the pit lane. But that's unfortunate to lose out on an opportunity like that. As we have, a VSC. So where's that come from? Is that Mikey in the background again with a broken front wing? It is. So, Mikey, I think is that twice now from Mikey with a front wing, has caused another VSC. And now if you're up front here, if you didn't manage to make a pit stop during the first of the VSCs, now is a great opportunity to make that stop. And I'm looking at the likes of potentially maybe Nitro Gas. 7 lap old hards. Clip Scary though, he'll take back the lead if Nitro Gas comes in and he stays out. He's only on 1 lap old hard, so he's obviously not going to come in unless he wants to have a strategy change, but I don't see the point in that. Nitro Gas, a little bit close there, but Nitro Gas making his way into the pit lane, but one person that would be absolutely gutted from this. Sir Spud making that pit stop. In fact, actually gone green. So we've gone green as Nitro's in, so he will save some time, but not as much as he would have if it remained VSC all the way to him coming out the pit lane. But where does that put him? In fact, that put him right in a McLaren sandwich. Nitro Gas now into P5. But onto a new set of hards. That 13 of 26 is Nitro Gas already trying to have a look for an overtake. They go wheel to wheel. A little bit of contact between the two of them, but Nitro Gas should get that move done and dusted. He does. Goes a little bit deep though, but he seems to have enough on the likes of Bruce, and he does now on this occasion. But of course, having a look at the Drivers' Championship as it stands, Ginger Tiger in P2, Nitro in P4, but Nitro making that stuff. He's on the hard tyre, 13 laps to go. Is a pretty possible objective, must be said, for Nitro Gas. We've seen Sir Spud do 10 laps, and bear in mind on the first stint with higher fuel. Fuel's burnt down now, as we are on pretty much half race distance, so surely 13 laps could be achieved if you keep the tyres set nice and clean. However, Ginger Tiger, he certainly has to come in. He's on 3 lap old mediums already, so he's bound to make another pit stop. The gap though between the two of them though, around 7.5 to 8 seconds. Is the yellow flag. Maris is in the wall. Is that going to be a safety car or a VSC? It's a safety car.
So, 2 VSCs and a safety car. I mean, Sir Spud, you called two safety cars in a VSC. You went far off, but now the drivers come into the pits. Surely, we'll see if Callum does come into the pits. Callum goes into the hard, but he used hard. 8 lap old hard. That's not going to go to the end, is it? 8 lap old hard for Callum. As Callum's crossed the line. He's picked up a 10-second penalty. Oh dear. It was looking to be a pretty good race from Callum. And that's just gone from bad to worse. Whether that was a wrong strategy call for the V-Cub, or that was the right objective, that's a bit unsure from their strategy call. It was for them, but it's going to be a tough one to recover. But the other drivers that did make a pit stop under the safety car is Bruce and JP. It's the two McLarens double stacking. They're in 7th and 8th. They have a pretty good buffer to the likes of Sir Spud behind. But we've lost 2 drivers in the course of the first 13 laps here, and we have 13 laps to go. But safety car right in the middle of it gives us a little bit of a breather. But one thing I do want to mention, the penalty situation. Not many, actually. In fact, actually none of the track limit violations. So that's good to see. However, the only penalty that does stand is the 10-second of Callum. That's because Callum did cross the white line on the pit exit. And the stewards, the stewards, in-game stewards, take that very seriously. And it's a slam dunk. If you cross it, you are receiving a penalty for it. But up front, I'm intrigued to see if any of the front runners are to come back in. I think Clips Curry is. Clips Curry certainly is. Ginger Tiger will. So Ginger Tiger, I'm not surprised he couldn't have made that medium go to the end. Pit stop was imminent for him. Flags remain on the track force for the full safety car, and it's just a matter of time to the other drivers to catch up to the field. Callum comes back into the pit surely to serve that penalty. Does so. You set a medium, so that is really possible. I say pretty possible. It's not going to be easy, for sure. I mean, drivers could only last 6 laps in this race under the fuel load. However, we start to move closer and closer to the sprint conditions now. With currently, well, when we cross the line, we will have 10 laps remaining. And that is, obviously, when we cross the line, safety car will probably still be out. So, when we get back to racing speed, we could have 9 laps of racing action. And of course the fuel load would have dropped down to around about those 9 to 10 lap window. So we could see a pretty similar race being run here to the sprint race for the drivers that appeared onto the mediums. And in fact, the other driver I did want to mention, Clips Curry, he also made that pit stop just then to put a new set of mediums. So that could be a very bold choice against the likes of Nitrogas to throw a different strategy at it. Clips Curry has had some good pace here tonight, but he will have the advantage of the slightly fresher at this point in time and faster tyre compound to the likes of Nitrogas. As we've currently got a migrating. Have we got a technical error? I think we've got a server glitch, ladies and gentlemen. All the drivers, unfortunately, leaving. Whether that's on our end or the drivers, but apparently it's Nitrogas who wins. But is this a? Oh dear. try and sort it out. If any of the drivers are currently watching, we are unfortunately having technical difficulties. The F1 game doing its traditional thing. If you are able to invite, we'd gladly appreciate it. But a few technical difficulties on my end. It does seem to be